Well, hello there. I'm in a different spot than you're used to seeing me. I'm actually up in my kitchen, and I'm in the process of starting to make, or trying to make, rock candy. So, I don't know if you've ever tried to make rock candy before. I've not actually tried it myself. I surveyed a bunch of science teachers, and they said, oh, I've tried it, never gotten it to work. A bunch of them did. But if you read online, they make it sound like, oh yeah, it's a piece of cake. So we're going to find out. But the reason I wanted to make rock candy is because it's a great example of how we can use a super saturated solution. So what I've been doing here, and I'm not going to be able to pick up the computer to show you, but I put about 2.5 cups of sugar into a cup of water, and I'm heating it up on the stove. So if you've ever made like candy before, like certain kinds of candy where you've got to get the sugar syrup up to like what they call a soft crack or a hard crack stage. It's really like that. So I've got this boiling because what I'm trying to do is get the sugar to dissolve in the water, and at this high temperature it can hold more sugar in solution than it normally could, and that's what we call a super saturated solution. So it's really taken a long time for the sugar to dissolve. So I keep heating it and stirring it. I'm trying to get it to a point where it's really clear, okay? And I really can't stop stirring this for too long because it could start to scorch on me. But I am going to show you one other thing. Actually, I think I'm going to hit pause here for a second and then I'll show you. Okay, so this is the other part. Let's see if the camera can pick this up. So this is just a wooden skewer, a stick. Try a different light. Just a wooden stick, but what I did is I rolled it in some sugar. So if you can kind of see that stuff there on the end, I think we got a bad glare here. Let's see if I stand in the way. So that's sugar on the end there. And so what happens with a supersaturated solution, and I talked about this on the day that I described this in your notes, is it's really what we call unstable. Like that sugar doesn't particularly want to stay dissolved in the water. So what it'll do is it'll re-solidify, come out of solution. And all it takes is something to kind of start it, and then it'll go pretty well on its own. Now what it can take is something as simple as a scratch on the side of the glass, because I'm going to put this inside just a regular old glass. And then if I have any scratches in there, it would be a place for that sugar to kind of start to collect. But this is a pretty good glass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this wooden skewer in there and get it to sit like that. And those sugar crystals are going to be a spot where the sugar in solution can actually come out and start attaching to those. And that should be where we collect our rock candy. So we'll see if this works. But we're going to have to kind of monitor it over a series of days because this takes a few days for it to work. So I'll keep you posted. Okay, so this has been cooling for a little while. Different recipes said different things. Some said 10 minutes, some said 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do, it's been about 15 or so. So I'm going to pour that hot, super saturated sugar solution into my clean glass. Made sure the inside was nice and clean with some hot water. And I got my dog down below here, so I got to be careful. My dogs are curious about everything. And I gotta be careful, I could burn myself here too if I'm not. I'm doing it over a pan. That works really nicely. I see some kind of floaties in there. I don't know, you see you just get a bad reflection, but there's little particles like floating around in there. I wonder if that's some sugar already starting to come out of solution. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in. It's supposed to sit about 1 inch from the top and not touch the sides. So kind of like that. Now the problem is this has to sit still for a few days. I'm going to carry this downstairs. That's sort of been my school headquarters, and and set it there, and hopefully it can stay undisturbed here for a few days, and then I'll be able to show you each day kind of how things are going. So here I am back downstairs. I kind of want to show you, carry this laptop over. That's kind of where I've set it up. I've got this shelf in my basement, so it's not quite perfect. That stick is supposed to be vertical. I don't know if you can tell from that angle. It's just angled a little bit. I don't think that matters a whole lot, but what I hope is that within a couple of days, we'll start to see some crystals of sugar collecting on the bottom end of that stick that's down near the bottom of the glass. And that's all that's really supposed to happen. And then the cool thing is the longer it takes them, the slower that process is, the bigger the crystals are. So crystals of sugar are normally pretty small, but sometimes you can get these big crystals. So I hope someday some of you take the material science class here, because in there you'll grow some crystals of probably copper sulfate. There's some other chemicals that work really nicely for this, better than sugar. That's why I think sugar a lot of times doesn't work. But I mean, there are crystals that are just huge, big chunks things. So it's very slow, and there's a process. You have to wash it each day, kind of rinse it off, and put new solution in it. And so, put that on your list of things to do in a couple of years, is to take the material science class. Once you're done with biology and maybe you've done some chemistry, it'd be a great class to take after that. So here's going to be my challenge for you, and this is totally optional because I know this may not work necessarily at your home, but if you want to try to make your own rock candy, and again, fully disclose here that I'm not sure this is going to work at all, even for me, so I don't want to claim that it's foolproof, but you could try it, because I'm going to put the recipe here on Google Classroom right next to where this video is, or actually I'll put it on the Google Slides, sorry, the Google Slides that you have. And if you want to try it, you got to promise you're going to do everything carefully and safely, and maybe with adult supervision. And I don't mean any offense to that, because I know you're probably old enough to handle things on the stove, but this stuff gets really hot, and I don't want you using up all the sugar that you have in the house and then somebody gets upset because you don't have any more. So please communicate with whoever the boss is at home before you go doing this. So I'll have the recipe on there, and again, understand that sometimes the recipe isn't perfect, and we'll just see what happens. And if you get fortunate enough to get some crystals, maybe before we wrap up next week, put some pictures on an assignment or something like that. I'll give you an opportunity to do that, and we'll see if anybody was successful growing some sugar crystals, aka rock candy. All right, so I think that's going to do it for now. If you're not going to do that today, if you can't do that today, I'm not going to give you additional assignment or anything. So you can use this. Maybe some of you need a catch-up day. If you look back at your solutions unit, see if there's anything missing in PowerSchool or in Google Classroom, and that'll tell you if you maybe need to go back and do something you didn't do. But otherwise, trying some rock candy is going to be about it. So, all right, that's it for now. Take care.